It starts in a little fishing port in West Africa in 1865. A boy is born. He became arguably the greatest sportsman Northern England has ever seen, but you've probably never heard of him.
I just feel so proud of his achievements, and I'm so thankful that at last his story's been able to be told.
He was the pioneer. He has a part of history. We all start somewhere, and we start with Arthur Wharton.
This was what began the whole story. I found it in this old box that had belonged to my mother.
It's a photo of Arthur Wharton, who Sheila Leeson believed to be a distant relative. She didn't know it, but he had a remarkable story. Arthur Wharton was born in Jamestown, in the Gold Coast, now Ghana. His Scottish father was a Methodist preacher, his Ghanaian mother a tribal princess. Arthur left for Britain to train as a preacher himself, but he found his true calling in the northeast of England.
Darlington is central to the story. It's where Arthur made his name. He played football for Darlington, played a bit of cricket here.
He was a first-class cricketer, but an even better goalkeeper.
He was a showman. He'd swing on the crossbar and catch the ball between his knees.
He played for Newcastle. I believe he made an appearance for Middlesbrough, Rotherham, Stalybridge Rovers.
He was playing so well that Preston signed him, and Preston North End were the Man U of their day, or the Barcelona of their day.
But that's just the tip of the iceberg.
World's first black professional footballer, the world's first 100-yard record holder, British cycling champion, professional cricketer, and he played both codes of rugby. What a sportsman.
If we looked at Arthur's sporting achievements in the context of today, it would be like Usain Bolt turning out for Man United on a Saturday. If Usain Bolt was doing that, we'd think him the greatest athlete that had ever lived.
So why hasn't everyone heard of him? The reason is because he had a scandalous family secret kept hidden in this box.
This is my mother. Also in the box was the picture of Arthur's sisters. This is Arthur's father, Reverend Henry Wharton.
Arthur was married to the sister of Sheila's grandma, but the photos of an entire African family and Arthur's personal belongings point to a much closer link.
Amongst the box of photographs, there was Arthur's Bible. I was looking through that and I found these verses underlined. There was given to me a thorn in the flesh, the messenger of Satan to buffet me. For this thing I besought the Lord thrice. I think he's trying to tell me that he'd committed adultery. He'd been with my grandmother 3 times and she'd had 3 children.
It made Sheila realise why her grandma was banished from the family, because Arthur Wharton was actually the grandfather she never knew. Sheila's heading from her home in Yorkshire to Ghana. It's the last chance she'll ever get to trace her family roots.
I feel fantastic. It's never thought it would be here. It says Reverend Henry Wharton Memorial Methodist Church. This is where Arthur's father, Henry Wharton, preached. Arthur, I think, in his later life, forgot about his religion.
Because of his illicit love affair, Arthur lost his family, and then his celebrity status. Arthur ended up as a miner at Edlington near Doncaster, living in poverty.
He'd gone from being somebody up, well known and feted in the country, to practically being a nobody, and he was buried in an unknown grave.
An undignified end for a champion whose life had started so promisingly.
Well, this is the school that he attended. He was the first man to run 100 yards in 10 seconds. He was also the first black professional footballer in England, therefore in the world.
But hardly any of the current pupils have heard of an illustrious former one.
The discovery of Arthur Wharton as an old boy is just so overwhelming. We would like to emulate him, follow his footsteps, and it makes me feel proud of my school, proud of Ghana, proud of Africa, and definitely rejuvenates me.
Sean Campbell's mission is to get recognition for Arthur Wharton too, first through a statue.
Well, when I first decided to run a campaign, I just wondered how many statues or monuments to other black British achievers there were out there. And to be honest with you, it took me about 2.5 months to find one.
Sean will eventually unveil a 17-foot-high statue, and until then, his small bronze replicas have been bought by football's most powerful organisations.
We have one at Wembley Stadium, the home of FIFA in Zurich, in the President's Lounge, and then when we go back to England at UEFA presentation, we can go through lists of footballers: Pelé, Johan Cruyff, David Beckham, George Best, Bobby Moore. The only footballer with a statue in the highest echelons of the world football is Arthur Wharton.
The statue is only one part of it. The rest is about spreading the word. He has the ear of the British High Commission. He has the ear of local dignitaries. And Sean's even blagged his way onto national TV.
Ghana has perhaps the most iconic sportsman in the history of the world.
But the timing of the campaign couldn't be better.
In Europe now, where the war is being waged against racism in football, and someone like Arthur Wharton can be the icon and the symbol for overcoming racism.
Though Arthur was loved by many across the north, he had to fight his own battle.
When they reported on matches, for example, they'd refer to him as the darkie, or they'd say that he had monkey-type features.
In 1886, the people of the northeast of England called for Arthur to play for England. He was denied the opportunity because of the colour of his skin. And nearly 100 years later, when the first black man played for England.
Being a black player, being a goalkeeper, playing in the 1800s, late 1800s is just absolute, that is mind-boggling. I never knew anything about Arthur Wharton until 6-7 years ago, which is a crying shame. Now, you speak to the Rio Ferdinands of this world, you speak to Andy Cole, and they all know about Arthur Wharton. So we're doing our little bit to get his name up there.
They're doing exactly that out in Ghana too. It's Arthur Wharton's birthday, and in the place where he was born, a football tournament held in his honour.
This is a deprived community. Majority of them are fishermen and fisher folks. So a gentleman such as Arthur brings hope that, despite all the adversity, despite all the obstacles, one could make it through and reach to the top.
Everywhere we've been so far, from the little streets to the football pitches, you've seen children playing football, and sometimes they haven't even got a football to play with. Football is in their blood, and then to know that the world's first black footballer actually came from Ghana, so it kind of like makes them think, you know what, I knew it anyway.
Arthur Wharton has finally come home, and in a sense, so has his granddaughter. Sheila has one last surprise. Local journalist Ernest Abike has been doing some digging into the African side of her family.
What we have now is a lot from your great-grandmother's side.
He's tracked down not just one or two relatives, but an entire family Sheila never knew she had.
Ame.
Here is your family assembled. My work is done. Thank you.
I've realised as a child, I'd always said to my mother, have I got a grandfather? And she never answered me. I'm very proud to be a member of your family. I just feel so full. It's very emotional to be here with you all. And thank you.
We are very happy because this is the first time I've heard of any white people tracing their black ancestors. She has come home to look for us.
Football is known as a beautiful game, and it unites people. And look at what's happening here today. You know, we're all united. People from all over the world come together, all because of one man and his journey.
The culmination of my life. It's, I think, the most greatest day of my life. I just couldn't understand why they'd been hidden away all those years. I think my mum would say, I'm sorry I didn't tell you what was happening, but I'm pleased that you found them. She would probably be saying up there, well done, Sheila.